everyone, my name is Reggie and welcome to my channel. Today I am very excited to be sharing with you my October TBR. What's so exciting about my October TBR this year is that it's massive, and it's massive because there are just so many readathons that are amazing that I want to participate in this month. I actually had to keep cutting readathons that I really wanted to participate in because I just can't do all of them. But the three I've decided to participate in are the Gilmore Girls-a-thon, SPOOKATHON, and Spooktober, obviously. For each readathon, I will link all of their information down in the description bar, so if you are interested in participating, you can get more information about them. But our first readathon is Gilmore Girls-a-thon. It's for about 2 weeks, runs from the 1st through the 15th. You have two choices to participate in the Gilmore's-a-thon. You can either do the Rory reading challenge, which is like a list of books that Rory read during the show, or you can do a list of, you know, challenges like a traditional TBR. I'm doing the challenges. The first challenge is to read a book with a school setting, and I will be reading Ninth House by Lee Bardugo, which is set in Yale, which is the college Rory went to, so it just feels perfect to me. Next up, we have to read a book with a mother-daughter relationship. While this is probably not what the creators of this readathon had in mind, I'm going to either read Between Shades of Grey or Out of the Easy, both of which are by Rita Sepetys. This is a historical fiction about a family who are leaving Lithuania. Yes, Lithuania. It's a mother, daughter, and son that are leaving. Out of the Easy is a historical fiction about the daughter of like a prostitute, I believe, who's trying to not live in that life and doesn't want to like follow in her mother's footsteps, from what I believe. So both of these have probably different mother-daughter dynamics than was intended, but these are the ones that I am gonna try to read. Next up, we have a cozy book set in fall or winter. I have Pumpkinheads by Rainbow Rowell and Faith Erin Hicks. I don't think there is a better set in fall book for this challenge. This book is about two people who I believe have a crush on each other, and it's their last day working in a pumpkin patch, and it sounds perfect and cute and fall and everything fantastic for this time of the year. The next challenge is to read a book with complicated love interests. I believe the intent with this one is to like mirror that dynamic between Dean and Jess and Rory, so I imagine they're expecting you to pick something with like a love triangle or a love square, but you know, I'm going with Rory. Dean keeps breaking up with me. This I am considering to be a complicated love interest because it's dealing with like a toxic relationship. So I think that counts. Next up, we have to read a book by an Asian author or with Asian rep. And we're going with Laura Dean Keeps Breaking Up With Me again, because love doubling up on challenges in a readathon. It's honestly how you survive in readathons. Next up is a sequel or a next book in a series that you haven't read yet, and I'm going with The Testaments by Margaret Atwood, which is the sequel to The Handmaid's Tale, and this recently came out, and I'm really excited to read it and see what it's all about. So I know I fudged the rules with a lot of these challenges in the Gilmore Girls readathon in this first section of the TBR, but this one is going to be the most stretchy, but also the one I'm most proud of and the book I'm most excited to read this month, so we're just going to deal with it anyway. And this challenge is to read a book with food on the cover or a book with like food as like a main component of the plot. And so I'm going with The Beautiful by Renee Ahdieh, which is about vampires, and I'm sure the like discussion of eating blood as a vampire will be discussed in the book, so we're going with it. Next up, we have SPOOKATHON. This is an annual Halloween themed readathon hosted by Books and Lala. This readathon runs from the 15th through the 24th this year, so there might be a day overlap in readathons here, and we'll see how that goes for me. But anyways, the first challenge for SPOOKATHON is to read a thriller, and I'm reading Dangerous Girls by Abigail Haas. This is like a summary thriller, but we're going with it because I'm trying to read all of the unread books that I own on my shelf, and this is the only thriller I own on my shelf that I haven't read. It's about a girl who goes to an island and is accused of murdering her best friend, I believe. And so it's like her trial and things that happen. The next challenge is to read a book with red on the cover, and I'm going with Arch Enemies by Marissa Meyer. This is the sequel to Renegades, also by Marissa Meyer, which is a series of like very basic good versus evil story plot that involves super villains and super heroes. And it's fun times, and this is the second book. The third book comes out soonish, I believe, so should probably finally read this. The next challenge for SPOOKAthon is to read a book with a spooky word in the title, and I'm going with A Madness So Discreet by Mindy McGinnis. I think madness is spooky, so we're going with it. The next is to read a book with a spooky setting, and we're also going with A Madness So Discreet. So this book is about a girl who I believe gets pregnant, and it's in the 1800s, so it's historical fiction, and she is sent to like an insane asylum or something ridiculous. I know the setting is spooky though, so we're going with it. And the next challenge is to read something you normally wouldn't, and so I'm going to be reading Pan's Labyrinth. Pan's Labyrinth is one of, if not my all-time favorite movie, and so this is a book based on that, and I feel like it's just like the movie in book form, honestly. So that's not something I would normally go for, but it does look beautiful, and it is one of my favorite movies. So I don't usually read books based on about movies in this way, like a specific movie. The last read-a-thon is, of course, Spooktober, which is my read-a-thon. If you don't know, I'm one of the hosts for Spooktober, and the read-a-thon this year is kind of like my baby because I'm not doing video or Instagram challenges for Spooktober this year. But anyways, this read-a-thon runs from the 25th through the 31st, and I'm so excited for it. The idea of this read-a-thon is you're going to a fall themed fair and you're just doing the activities that you would like to. I am definitely doubling up, but also trying to read 7 books in 7 days and complete all the challenges, so we'll see how this goes. Our first challenge is a sunflower field, so this is read a book with a flower on the cover, and I'm planning on reading To Make Monsters Out of Girls by Amanda Lovelace. This is a book of poetry. I have heard this is better. I'm a little nervous because not a huge fan of modern poetry. I'm like a decent fan of Amanda Lovelace, but not much of her work, so like this is gonna be interesting, but I've heard this is better than her other series of poetry, so we're gonna give it a go and we're gonna cross our fingers it's good, and it definitely has flowers on the cover. It's like roses or something. Next is a hayride, and this is to read a book with a journey or a quest. This one, again, I'm fudging a little bit on, but I'm going with My Year of Rest and Relaxation. This is a book about a woman who like tries to sleep for a year basically, and I believe it's like a big discussion of like depression and things like that. From what I've heard, this seems like a modern version of the bell jar. No one said that, but in everything I've heard about this, that's just everything that like pops up in my brain. Everyone here probably knows how much I love the bell jar, so I'm interested in this one. And so like because of it being her like year, her journey, her year of rest and relaxation, I think that's a journey of her trying to, you know, figure out what's up. So I'm counting this as a journey story, even though it's not really what you maybe had in mind for journey. Next up, we have Corn Maze, and this one is to read a book that you think will have twists and turns. For this one, I'm going with Imaginary Friend by Stephen Chbosky. This is like a thriller mystery horror about a woman and her son who moved to a new town, and then her son goes missing for like 6 days. When he comes back, he's unharmed, but he has this voice in his head telling him that he has to like do this thing and complete these tasks. And so I think this is the kind of book that will have all kinds of twists and turns. Next up, we have Haunted House, read a spooky book. I'm also going with Imaginary Friend because, like I said, this is a horror, so it seems spooky. Next up, we have Pumpkin Patch, to read a book with orange on the cover. For this one, I'm going with To Drink Coffee with Ghosts, which is the second book in that series of poetry by Amanda Lovelace. And so, since I'm reading the first one, might as well try the second one. Next up, we have Apple Picking, and the challenge for this is to read a book that someone else picked out for you. So I have a book that a publisher sent to me, so I'm counting the publisher sending it to me as someone picking it out for me, and this is Monster She Wrote, the woman who pioneered horror and speculative fiction, and this one's so great. This is just like a nonfiction tale of some really awesome women who did some really awesome things in literature and horror. Next up, we have Ferris Wheel, and this is to read a book from a unique perspective. For this one, I want to read The Fountains of Silence by Read-a-thons. This is a historical fiction about a young boy who goes to Spain during the Spanish Revolution, and so he is an American tourist, and he is an aspiring photographer. He takes pictures of something he shouldn't, sees something he shouldn't, and I assume that's where the plot kind of progresses, takes off, picks up, goes from. And I think it's interesting to see the perspective of a historical fiction from like a tourist. Next up, we have Petting Suit, a book with an animal in it. So I don't know if this book actually has an animal in it, but it has an animal in the title, so we're going with it. And this is 13 Doorways, Wolves Behind Them All. Next up, we have Face Painting. This is a book that includes a transformation. We're making an assumption about the plot of the book, but I'm going with My Year of Rest and Relaxation, hoping there's some transformative aspects within this book. Next up, we have Bobbing for Apples, a book that features water. Again, I don't know if this book features water, but the cover does. So again, this is 13 Doorways, Wolves Behind Them All. So the last 3 challenges I don't have specific books for. They're kind of like challenges of doing while you're reading. So I can do these during any of the challenges. The first one is a pie eating contest, devour a book in 24 hours. I assume this will be done with the poetry books. Then we have Candy Apples, read a book while enjoying a fall treat. Like I said, I can be eating a fall treat during reading any of these books, so I just have to remember to do it. And then the last one is Bonfire, read a book while being warm and cozy, and that shouldn't be too hard, especially as I believe at the end of this week, or sorry, next week, it's going to start getting colder here. So by the end of October, it'll definitely be cold enough for this. So I'm really excited for all of the books I hope to read in October on all of the read-a-thons. Let me know, do you think I'm going to read all of these books? I don't know. unlikely, but I would love to say I could. So comment down below, let me know how many books you think I'll actually read, and let me know what readathons you're participating in October if you are, because there's so many of them. But that is all for today's video, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!